All righty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I'm sitting here in the back room of my little cabin in the woods on a Sunday morning. It's a beautiful day, and I got the opportunity the other night to speak with Bradley Richardson. Really impressive guy. I just liked some of his social media posts, so I reached out and asked him if he wanted to maybe do a show. And then I really started researching him, and it's really impressive. Like, this guy's he's written 6 books. 5 of them are bestsellers, which is fucking unbelievable. Right? What he does right now is he runs advanced adulting. So essentially, he will help coach you through your midlife woes. Usually it's get divorced or changing career or empty nest or whatever it might be, but that's his specialty, helping you do it right, advanced adulting. And you guys should check him out if you get a chance. His website's called I'mBradleyRichardson.com. You can learn everything you want to learn about the guy. He's got great social media posts, and yeah, awesome guy. We had a great conversation. Had some tech issues because I'm here in the middle of nowhere, so the internet's not that awesome. But well, I was so glad to have met this guy. We ended up trading some contacts, and it was just really a good experience, I think, for both of us. But anyway, here's my conversation with Bradley Richardson. I hope in some way this helps you to get your shit together. Have a great day. Hey, my bad. Like I said, here, just a little quick background. So I was living near the Detroit area and decided it wasn't for me. So I bought some property, middle of nowhere, up further north in the state. And I'm currently living in this small cabin that I built back when I was a teacher. And the service is not that awesome. So my apologies for that interruption. I hope we don't get any more. Cool. So anyway, you were talking about
I'm good.
The downsides of
the
flesh trading business.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yes, a white collar pimp. That's it.
For sure.
Yeah, you get it. I mean, only somebody that's been in it gets the split. I mean, being with a firm is great up to a certain point. And then once you start billing past a certain amount, you're like, wait a minute here, this is bullshit. I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
I think we had at the time 150 people and 25 managing partners. Okay. I was one of them. 12 of us left. Okay.
Wow,
12
that's
of us
half
were just like, half of them, half the producers left. And I was towards the end. I was going through a divorce and all that. And I just said, okay, you know what, towards the end, I was like, fuck it. If you're going to blow it up, let's blow the whole thing up.
Right.
And I was just tired of the industry. And when I did, though, it was all the crazy non-competes. Okay. How they just totally
you
loved it.
Probably went like 2 years. You couldn't do anything.
Well, I like an idiot. I mean, one of the dumb, you can count on, I think most people can. You can count on dumbass moves that you'd like to do. And rather than just handle it a totally different way, which I should have, like my friends and other partners did, sure, I'll buy my practice out. So I bought my practice out for 6 figures, signed a horrible deal, and still got involved with a lawsuit that wrapped me up for 3 years.
Wow.
And so I was so burnt on the whole thing. I said, fuck this. And
yeah, I can understand.
I still know a lot of people in it.
Yeah, I have to bounce around, man. I can't do it full time. I have run my own construction recruiting company. But I really don't do it in the summer because if I did it full time, I would be, I'd get to where you are, man. I'd get burnt out, and I know that. So in the summertime, I actually go back to doing construction myself. I work with my hands, and I like to do that work. So yeah, that's how I keep from getting burnt out on it because the money's so good. And it's so easy to do the recruiting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I did it for probably after I left, about another 4 or 5 years. I mean, I had my own gig and was doing really well with that and sniping big deals because I was placing senior execs. I mean, I could snipe big ass deals.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's just like, fuck this. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I understand. So then did you transition from that right into doing this, or is this a side gig for you? Is this full time?
No, this is my full gig. And what's funny is this was originally my full gig for about 10, 12 years before I went into recruiting. So my whole deal is, we both have written books. I mean, I published 5 books. I've had a couple of bestsellers, but those were ages ago. I mean, so I got my first book deal at 27 from Random House, And I
Wow.
didn't know what the hell I was, I didn't know what I was doing. And so that became a bestseller, a legit bestseller, on the Wall Street Journal's list way early, and led
Hmm.
me to speaking. And shit, I turned 56. So I mean, here, and this is ages ago. It was pre-social media,
Congratulations, man.
pre-anything.
Sure.
And I did the speaking and all that stuff for years. And then when I had kids, um, just transitioned in, worked for the Wall Street Journal for a little bit, and then went into search, because my first books were about business and about recruiting and jobs and
Hmm.
careers and all this. And then for me, it was just that whole kind of midlife identity of, look, I don't know how much road I've got left. I want to go back to being who the fuck I want to be. And
So,
this was it.
right.
So that's it.
That's
Thanks.
a man. You've led a charmed life, man. I'm sure it's due to hard work and good decision making on your part, and good for you. And that's a really nice transition
Thanks.
into the midlife situation. I find myself I'll
Yeah.
be 46 on Monday. I've been single for about 4 years now. I was married for a little while, didn't work out. Had another long term there for a while, didn't work out. And I'm finding that this dating scene in midlife, man, it is just totally different than it was when I was in college, for example. When I was in my 20s, it just was a totally different game 20 years ago. Everything, things have changed. Now, I think a lot of it's for the
Yeah.
better. I think there's you have a lot more access to potential matches. It's very, very easy to find dates and things like that, especially if you run your life correctly and you have your sort of your shit together. But at the same time,
Right.
yeah, I think the longer people go down that road, the more kind of scars they build up, the more kind of bullshit they're carrying around. And so it makes it more difficult to make that initial spark, that excitement, the old fall in love in the back seat of the car at the movie theater when you were a kid, young guy.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's different, man. So I'm curious. I'm sure I know you have a ton of wisdom with regard to that. What are the things that you see? What are the big challenges that, midlife daters are facing?
Well, I think you said a couple of words there that I think key to that, and that is scars, baggage, experience.
Sure.
That right there. Look, I mean, there's so much about this, and let's forget tactics. Okay, I'm not a tactic guy. I mean, yes, there are tactics and all this, but I mean, it's more, and I, again, I saw one of your books is about life transitions. Okay, that's really all this
First one.
is.
Yep.
It's a giant
Hmm.
ass life transition, and that's it. And that's because who you were when you were 26 is a totally different human being than you were at 46. Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
and that's not just because of, yeah, I mean, in every walk of life. And that is not just because of, time and age and all that, but that is because of your decisions, good and bad. That is because
Hmm.
of the people and experiences you've been exposed to, good
Hmm.
and bad, neutral,
Yep.
whatever. It's all of that. And what you want, what you expect, what you don't want, the boundaries, your bullshit you won't accept is
Put up
so
with. Yeah.
different, and probably
Hmm.
different. Yeah, totally. Probably, and I'm not just talking about from when you were 20s or just graduating school or whatever, but also probably from when you got married. That's probably a totally different deal
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
for
that
sure.
with, yeah, I mean, um, there are a couple things. So with middle age, I think our expectations are fucked. I think that's part of it right there, is because we are coming into it with, um, especially at this age. Now, I got 3 kids in their 20s, and I see a lot of social media people in their 20s or the 20s and early 30s. Is
Hmm.
it that different? Are there core skills? I know you talk about masculinity, and I know I see some of the guests you've had. There's core
Yeah.
skills that will help you. I don't give a damn if you're 21 or 51. It's good
Absolutely.
stuff. Okay,
Those are the ones I focus on,
but
of course.
okay, but you don't know what you don't know. I mean, that's
That's
just it.
true.
You don't. I mean, no one sits there. Yeah, no one sits there and goes, "Well, I wonder how my first marriage is going to work out." I mean, no one prepares you for the shit that's going to hit you in the face.
Oh yeah, because
And
it's coming. Yeah.
everybody at that age, yeah, I was that age. At that age, I was young, dumb, and bulletproof. Of course, I
Mm-hmm.
thought, well, I'm going to handle it this way. Sure, you are. And
Yeah.
what's the Mike Tyson quote? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the
Till you get
face.
punched in the face. Yep.
And that's just it. Yeah, and that's just it. And like same thing with dating relationships. I think of I say our generation. I mean, 40s, mid 40s up.
Yeah,
Gen
we're all
X
we're all
if.
adults. Yep.
Um, yeah, but I think a lot of us will probably come from, everyone's an individual, but I think generationally, we still were raised with that expectation of, well, you should do this. It should look a certain way. This is
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
And, we haven't been back in a while. And when we get back into it, whether it is dating or just a relationship or
Hmm.
anything, we
Hmm.
go, wow, wait a minute. That's kind of bullshit. Maybe I need to redefine it differently. Maybe I
Yeah.
need to redefine it how I want it, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's probably the biggest misconception that a lot of people find when they find themselves either out of a marriage or out of a long-term relationship is, God, I don't know what I want, or I don't know
Yeah.
what to do or how it should look.
Right.
And, the thing is, it can look any which way you want.
It
That's the
should's a
thing.
fucked
There
up
is no real
concept, man.
defined.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Should is the weirdest thing. I often, when I am coaching an individual, I'll tell them, your shoulds are gone, bro. Your shoulds were gone when you were 30. You should go to college. You should pick a
Mm-hmm.
good partner. You should, work hard in your career. You should keep yourself healthy. And you've already done all that. So shoulds out the window, man. It's about what do you want? That's it. It's an awesome opportunity to finally be selfish. We were taught our whole lives never to do that. And that's really the only definer, I mean, I've
Right.
got buddies who've gone through divorces, and that's how I coach them. Hey, man, well, what do you want? How do you want to live? How do you want your Friday night to be? Let's start there. What do you want to do when you get home from work? What would you rather be doing? Do you want to be going out and to a fancy restaurant? Do you want to be sitting in your garage having a beer? What is it that you want to be doing with your downtime? Start there and build backwards from it. Find the person who's going to want to do that stuff too. Live the life that's going to put you in that place. At least that's how I try to coach. I think, again, you're way further along down this path than I am with regard to the coaching, but and that's kind of, I try to look at it, try to throw shit out the window if you can. I mean, at our age, like I said, your shoulds are over with. What do you think?
Your shoulds are over with completely. And because look, it's not just a relationship. It's a choice
Yeah.
of an occupation where you went to
Yep.
school. I mean, let's go all the
Mhm.
way back. I
Yep.
mean, it's the idea of, well, how many people do you know who are an attorney or any profession,
Mhm.
an accountant, whatever,
Yep.
because, well, that's what I was told it should be. Okay. Or
Yep.
this is how it should look. And
Yep.
I mean, there's so many things I wish, and it's funny. I think people in their 20s and 30s now do such a good job with. It's a weird thing. Okay, so when people take it to the extremes of being completely narcissistic and selfish, but I
Yeah.
think
Very
they do a hell of a
self-centered.
lot better job than we did in terms of saying, "Hey, no." I mean, let's call it like it is. Knowing what I know now, I wish I
Mhm.
had been more selfish and strong and a leader as a young man. And you don't realize that until you fuck some things up and you realize,
Uh,
wow, okay,
And I think that's
I can't
great,
take care
though,
of
man.
anybody else until I take care of myself first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yeah,
was just going to
it's
say
a good
exactly
thing.
that same thing. And I would tell you that giant fuck up usually is what finally puts you in the mindset where you're like, well, the should can never happen again. I blew that up. It's gone now. I screwed it all up. So what's left? What's left is what I want. What do I want to do? I agree. Young people are way far better at it than our generation was.
Yeah, and what's funny is here's the thing with folks in saying midlife, and midlife can really,
Mhm.
I think it's more of a stage of life than a defined age. It's not like, oh my God, you
I
crossed
agree.
over to this, but really
Yep.
we're talking 40s, 50s plus.
Hmm.
And I think it's that thing of they get back into it and they think it's a tactic. They think there is something. It's a mindset and a core belief and a life and how you put yourself out there. Not just, well, I'm going to go on an app. I'm going to do this. Man, it comes from you know how do you actually define what you want? And I think that, and
Hmm.
when I say that, this is applicable to anything, but it's the idea of people talking these giant esoteric terms. I want someone who communicates. I want someone who's loyal. I want
Yeah.
someone who's intimate.
Those are
Awesome. What does
claptraps.
that mean?
Of
Well, I
course,
don't know.
everybody's going to say they is going to
Define.
appreciate that, but it's different for everybody. You got to define it for yourself. Hey.
Yeah, and I think that too many people I see at midlife don't do that, or they end up they're so bitter. We start off talking about
Mm,
scars and
that's
all that.
common too.
I
Yeah.
think yeah, I think that um I see so many hurt people out there, and I've been one. I
Yeah.
get it. I mean, I could have
Me too.
look, I Yeah, I mean, whether you're coming out of a marriage, it doesn't matter if you left or were the person that, or got dumped or
Doesn't matter.
whatever.
Yep.
Marriages are tough, relationships. I mean, all of this, co-parenting, dealing with kids, all this, it's tough. And so it's easy. The low-hanging fruit is just to become a bitter son of a bitch,
Yeah.
and just say
So
women
easy.
suck, men suck, fuck it, I'm not gonna.
Yep. It's so easy. There's so many people who choose that route.
Yeah. And they hurt themselves and they think I'm
Yep.
being guarded, I'm protecting myself, I won't risk it. And I go, okay, cool. Well, you've got, we live long enough now. You've got really about three different lifetimes. You've got your
Agree.
young, stupid youth in college age and 20s. You've
Sure.
got your 20s, 30s, start a career, raising a family, getting married, whatever it is. And then there's this, and you've
Hmm.
got a long ways, it's a long
Yeah.
runway ahead of you. So
I
what are
hope
you going
so.
to do? And yeah, but I think I think managing expectations is probably one of the biggest challenges, but probably one of the first steps anybody needs to take about whether it's, we say dating, but it's also really just establishing a relationship, a good relationship. And that's
Yeah. A
damn near
big part
anything.
of it too, if you want to have a relationship at all, I found that the secret to success is having your own shit together. I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan. He talks about, getting your boat
Mm-hmm.
stronger because you can't stop the tides. You can, the flood's coming, right? And I really like that concept, and I think it applies really well at this stage. You want to get fit. This is a great time to do it. There's nobody telling you can't. If you want to make as much money as possible and just work all the hours in the world, well, now's a great time to do it. You ended up single. Let's do it. Whatever it is that you
Yeah.
want to do to make yourself better helps in every way. It's going to make you stronger and better, obviously, get you to your potential. And that, of course, is going to make you more valuable, especially for men. I mean, I think that, we are a commodity. We're your ability to produce whatever it is, whether it's financial resources or protection or the different things that we as men in general are, I think is built into our DNA to do. You have far better ability to do that at 40 than you did at 26. You can make a lot more money. You probably have a house. You're probably out of debt. You've got all these different things that finances are just the easiest one to talk about, but there's lots of that stuff that you can make yourself more a better person for that next person that you're going to be with. And that's always good work. It's always effective work. It's always helpful.
But that's the best way to go about it. But not that many people look at it that
I
way.
know it, man. I
I
know
mean,
they
I think
don't.
that's the
I
funny
know it.
thing. Look, I mean, here's the funny thing. I mean, people that read books that you and I put out, or listen to a
Hmm.
podcast like this, or people who actually make the effort
Hmm.
to consume content and do the work. We're in that world. We're in that
Yeah.
world, so we're thinking, oh shit, everybody thinks like this. They don't. I mean,
They
this is an
don't. Yeah.
anomaly
Yeah. Go to
compared
Walmart.
to everybody else.
You'll figure it out. Look around Walmart. That's most of our American society right there. And they're not reading our books, Bradley. They're not.
Oh, they're not reading books and they're sitting there bitching about it. And,
Yeah.
look, a lot of men do. I mean, a lot of both people, both ways. I mean, oddly enough, I mean, I work with both, but the bulk of it is probably women, leans more with working with women. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just think it's that idea of um, being open to look at yourself first.
That's
And
a
I
tough
think
one.
that's it.
Most
Because
people
too
can't
many,
do that. Hey.
it is a tough one.
Hmm.
No, we're professional victims.
Hmm.
And everybody loves that, oh, well, this job, this boss, that bitch, this guy did this, whatever. I mean, we
Yep.
love to pin it on something else instead of saying, okay, how was I culpable in this? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some bad things, some people did some bad things, stuff happened. But if I want the life relationship that I really want, can I define it? How did I allow that to happen? That's a big one. No one stops to do that because
Oh,
they
yeah, you're
think
right.
I'm just going to go from filling. Yeah, I'm filling this one to this one. It's, I
Hmm.
used to call it when I ever got divorced. I am here in Dallas, and there was probably like any other big city. Okay, you start dating in midlife, and it's the middle age woman who was suburban MILF that got divorced, and suddenly she has to go sell real estate because she didn't have to work before. I mean, typical shit.
Now she's got to work. Yep.
And I, Oh yeah, I know I missed stuff, and I just very quickly realized that a lot of it was what I call this insert guy here theory, and it's
Oh, yeah, I know
this. It's kind of
exactly
like
what
when
we're
you
talking
buy a
about.
picture
Explain it.
frame.
I know exactly
Oh
what you
yeah,
mean. Keep going.
yeah. I mean, you buy a picture frame, and it comes with this good-looking person, or great
Yeah.
couple, or great family, and you don't know who they are, but they look awesome.
Hmm.
And there's so many people. I would meet these people, and because I was a good dad, because I had a cool, interesting job, because I was cool and interesting, whatever. And these people looked at it like they didn't give a shit about me as a man or a person. It was like, oh, I can have the country club membership back again. Oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. Oh,
Yeah.
my ex was a shitbag dad. Oh, I can do this now.
Yeah.
And I think too many people are wounded to the point where they're just looking to fill a hole.
Hmm.
I got a round hole. Where's a round peg? I just want to find a round peg
Yep.
somewhere that'll
Yep.
fit, rather than
Hmm.
really looking at, hey, you know, is my hole here? Is it scarred? Is it bad? Is it gross? What do I need to figure out about working on me? Do I even want a round one?
Yeah,
And
and I mean
too many
the
people
whole
don't do that.
concept of that. I mean the shape of the hole might have to change. We're going to keep going through metaphor, but essentially what I'm trying to say is that you might have to totally rearrange how your life is working to make it fit with somebody else. You got to realize you might be bringing in a few, your suburban MILF who's the realtor, and she's got a couple kids too, and she's got her life going XYZ, and she wants you to fit exactly into those downtimes, and it's not going to work. So she's going to have to tweak her life, and I think men and women both do that. They don't want to. They're like, well, I got everything going how I want it. You just need to. No, man, there's more things that you're going to have to adjust. And I think that to
Right.
too many people, that's an unacceptable compromise.
Or the other important thing to that is they are so scared to look at there is an they're scared to look that there might be an alternate possibility. So
Which
that
might be way
even though I'm
better
going to
than what
hang
they
on to
imagined.
what was familiar.
Right.
Absolutely. I think that's a big problem right there. Is like, you know what? Yeah, this lifestyle, this world that I had or created,
Hmm.
it may not be perfect, but it was familiar. And so people
Hmm.
go to a familiar misery
Oh,
rather than going to
yeah.
an unfamiliar, uncomfortable,
That's
better
every abuse
solution.
situation.
And they
Every
don't
abuse
stop to
situation
look
that's
at that.
ever happened right there. You just described it.
Yeah, yeah. And instead of taking the time to go, okay, look, I'm 40 something, 50 something, whatever. Okay. Any of the big life changes and milestones. Okay. You're an
Yeah.
empty nester now. Okay. I
Yep.
know so many people who, and now's the perfect time for year for it. Okay. We're here in September,
Hmm.
1st, Labor Day. People who are sending their last child off to college, you know,
Yeah.
oh, it's
Yeah.
great. It's a big occasion. I guarantee you, how many people are going to go back and while Susie and Steve are off at freshman year, they're coming back to their spouse and looking at them going, "All right, let's file divorce. We're done."
Yeah. What am I doing here? Yeah.
And because
Yeah.
they
We're
just,
good. We got this job done. I
what
don't
am
know
I
how to do.
doing here?
Yeah, I got a buddy, close friend, and just exactly the situation you described. And he's like, I dealt with a lot of these things for a long, long time, and now I don't have to anymore. So I want a little bit more. I want to do something different. Yeah, that's super common. Yeah, it's just another transition. You got to be able to have the tools to do that. It's another reason why nice, a transition here is why I'm such a big fan of failure. As a high school teacher, I just loved it when the kids screwed up. As a football coach, I love it when they screw up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great opportunity for me to teach. It's a great opportunity for them to learn that failure ain't that bad. That in
Mm-hmm.
fact, you fell and hurt your knee, and you can scrape your knee in any capacity you want. Turn that into a metaphor for anything. Um, you
Sure.
realize that it wasn't that bad, and it'll heal and it'll go away, and holy shit, now you don't have to be so afraid of falling down. And I think that's when you get to start really taking risks and really starting to enjoy the things in life. I know too many people, Bradley, that their biggest motivator is they're afraid to screw up. I mean, I don't want to go through a life like that. I would rather crash and burn 2 out of 3 times, but that third time, man, did I live? You know what I mean? And that I think comes from me having failed, man.
Right.
I've had some massive, massive failures in my life, and it makes it easier for me to look at it that way. But like you said, I think it's fear that's stopping people from really approaching life in that way.
Yeah, and it's fear, but what I think's funny, and I mean maybe I hope I'm not just projecting. I mean, I too I've had look. I mean, everyone hopes that it's hockey stick growth and social media and all the
Sure.
bullshit out there. Oh, it all looks like it's perfect. No,
Yeah.
my life's been Six Flags. Okay, I mean it's been highs and lows and all of this,
Hmm.
and it's great. I hope to God I can even it out. But I think that the big problem, I mean, one of the big problems is people are fearful, but they're not fearful of failure per se. Their fear is of looking stupid. I think
Yeah, it's
that's
what
it
other people
because of
think,
this
eh?
outward
Yep.
perception.
Yep.
Totally. We're so wrapped up in that of, oh my God, what's somebody going to say if, I get divorced or, we have this image and
Yeah.
this perception. When you
Hmm.
and I both know, actually, it's not that bad. I mean, in
No.
anything, okay? Look,
I
short
mean, it
of death,
sucks, but at the end of
death
it,
or being
yeah.
in prison, you're going to get through
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
And I think that's a big part of it right there is we're so scared of what other people are going to think, and until you really fall on your ass. I also, and this is kind of how I've done, approach things with business or friendships or people I take advice from. I don't really want somebody who's failed. And what I mean by that is,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of friends because I was a headhunter in healthcare. I had a lot of friends who were doctors
Hmm.
and stuff. And I look at it like this: I don't want a doctor who's never lost a patient. I don't want a
I
doctor
don't either.
who's, or I don't want an attorney who's never lost a case. You know
Me
why?
neither.
Because when shit goes foul, they go, seen this, I got
Been
this.
here
Okay,
before. Yep. I can
rather than
handle
the
it.
it's always perfect.
Hmm.
Yeah, relationships, same thing. How many people bail out, when, it's rough. Oh my God, we fought. Oh, it's bad. I got to get out of here. You know, okay.
Yeah.
It shouldn't always be friction, but geez, I mean, you should learn how to navigate some of this stuff.
Yeah. And figure out
It's
how
not
to
all
fight
mode.
correctly. How to really, because a fight, I think, is an opportunity, just like any struggle. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to lay some stuff out that maybe you hadn't said before. It's an opportunity to really find out what they're thinking. It's an opportunity to get a very honest dose of what your partner, how they see you, what they think of you, and that's all very valuable knowledge. I mean, these are things
Right.
that you can adjust. If you can look at your relationship, I don't want to take away all the romance, but if you can have a little bit of an angle of, hey, this is a business. I'm always trying to improve and succeed. Um, that's helpful. And I don't think people want to do that. They want it to be the Disney movie, man. And that's just, it just doesn't happen. There are Disney
Yeah.
moments. That's it.
That's well in anything. I think that's it.
Hmm.
We have, I talked a moment ago about expectations, and I think that's just it. Is we have these expectations of perfection, and it just
Hmm.
doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in anything. Okay, it's a
Hmm.
false positive, and you are fooling yourself. Oh my God, it's always going to be great. It's always going to be, and so because things are so disposable now,
Yeah.
yes, I think options are great. I think that you need boundaries and there's some shit you should not put up with and it's time to walk. But I
Yeah.
think that things are becoming so disposable for a lot of people that if it is not a 10, if it's not a 10 out of 10, you know, 9,
Yeah.
9.9 is not good enough. I'm out of
Yeah.
there. I'm pulling the
Yeah.
ripcord. And that's
Yeah.
just bullshit and unrealistic in anything.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I mean, sports, nobody bats 1,000. Okay.
No, that's right.
Rafa Nadal doesn't make every shot he hits.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah.
But you
It's
realize
disappointing
if
is,
you
is
have
what it
those
is. Right. Yeah. Those
yeah,
expectations. I'm sure you come across that a lot, especially with your clientele. If you don't mind my picking your brain a little bit, um,
yeah,
how do you,
sure, go for it.
I mean, I'm traveling roughly the same path that you are, and I'm curious how you got to where you are. I mean, how do you go from, hey, I wrote some books and I did well with them to wanting to coach people, to accessing, giving them access to you and all of that. I mean, how does that transition happen? And I'm strictly being selfishly asking for my own purposes. Well, how do you go there?
No, hey, look, I am happy to share. Here's the deal. One, there is no one right path. That's the one thing I will say because there is. I
Sure.
wish to God there was a magic formula, but I think everybody is different in what they offer and their timing and everything. I think,
Mhm.
as I said at the beginning, mine is a little different story because I didn't just come out of nowhere. I'm like you know, I did this for years
Yeah.
beforehand. I mean, I did this from the mid '90s, through early 2000s, and that was my main gig. And I was doing the
Hmm.
big speaker circuit, and I was
Hmm.
consulting with and coaching individuals, but also companies as well. And I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
So the book's got to hit
Also
first.
talked about the should.
Sorry to interrupt you. The book has to hit first before you get that speaking
no.
gigs.
In the old days, yes. Now, not so much.
Go ahead, man. You can be honest.
Hey, dude, and you've written them, okay? I mean, I don't know. Did you self-publish? Did you go with a publishing house, or
yeah, I self-published, man. I just didn't want to wait. I mean, not that I'm saying my stuff would have been good enough for Random House or Penguin or something like that, but I knew that they'd be a year and a half.
No.
I want to get that shit out, so I did it myself.
Oh no, look, I mean, here's the thing. I would do it totally different than now, and I think that the world has changed so dramatically. So way back in the day, you had to have the book first. You couldn't build credibility online because there wasn't online. Yeah. Okay, I know I don't look that old, but Jesus. No, I mean you couldn't. You had to. I had made some great contacts through the media. I basically turned my journal as a young man working in New York in my 20s in sales into a book called Job Smarts for 20 somethings. It was like the first business book for Gen X. Okay, and so at the time, I had made some great contacts. I'd done a lot of freebie speaking, all the stuff now you do on social media. I was doing, and I got that done. But the book hit, and then that led to all the speaking and such like that, and then just it compounded with everything. And I've done books on parenting, on starting over again, on careers, and coming back. But now, like I said, I mean, after my third child was born, who's now 21 and living in Italy. Great. Good kid.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, right. Thank you. But after he was born, I succumbed to the shoulds, the former wife and the family was like, oh, this up and down. I mean, I was crushing it, but then you don't do something for a while and then you crush it and go get a real job. So I just succumbed. And that's when I went to work for the Wall Street Journal, and then I became a headhunter, and I had years of doing well with it. I loved it, but I kind of sold my soul on it. And my passion was still, I loved the writing. I wrote another book while I was doing it, but I am getting there on how you build.
You take your time, man. I'm glad to have you here.
No, dude, I checked out and I raised my kids and I, worked and did well with that. And then when I got divorced, again, I was still in the should, stuck in a career that I didn't like. Okay.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I had this other background, but it's not like you can just fire that engine up after you've been off for 10 years.
Takes a while.
And things had changed. That's a long time, and you changed everything. And for me, I started to kind of dabble back into it. I'd say maybe 4 years ago. And I jumped in with, I went out to LA for a little while and I spent some time with some of the big name influencers, and podcasters. And I quickly realized these guys are full of shit.
Well, what is it that they had? They had something that made them kind of successful or made them get to where they were. Is it that they're full of shit? Is it they're great at sales? What is it? What's the commonality there?
No. Okay. So you're a business guy. Okay. You're a recruiter. So, I mean, I peel back the onion. Okay. I'm sitting there going, I realized that, there's three different types. Okay. There are the people who are, good character, good core, good information, and making it as a business. Okay. They're authentic and genuine and transparent. Yep. There are ones that are the wannabes, okay, that just are doing it for the pure ego stroke.
Sure.
And there are others that have some good info, but it's all the image. Was all image. And I'm getting exposed to all different groups, and really those first two. So I got to see some of the people who are like the real deal. And I'm like, you are good peeps, you are kicking ass. You show it all, and you've got a good thing. I respect that. But then I got to see some of them up close and personal that were just, we had this. I remember, having this conversation with one, and it had a big dinner, and they were talking about, well, the whole formulas for getting followers and users and building an audience and all this, and then she kind of goes, well, but really it's getting in the DMs and just talking to people directly. And I'm the old man turd in the punch bowl. And I go, so you mean like, that's what we used to call like sales calls, right? You mean like just really dealing with people?
Yep. Cold calls.
And you find out who's buying what.
Yep.
who, is just, having other people do the stuff. And I just grew distasteful with it. And so I was like,
Hmm.
oh my God, I don't know if I really want to play in that game.
Well, that's
And,
where I am. I watch it
before,
happen. Not you, but everybody else I see with these giant followings. And I don't know, man. It seems kind of shallow and fake to me. It doesn't seem like a thing I want to do. I don't want to chase followers. I want to put out good content. I want to write good books and help men be better at being men. That's all I want to do. And if it means that I stay at the level I'm at, I'm good with that. But I think I could help more people. You know what I mean? I'm sorry I cut you off.
no, 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 dude, you're 1,000% it. And that's just it. I agree. So I know where you're at. Okay. Cause I was so disillusioned with it. And I'm sitting there going, God, this is, I'm a grown ass man here. I mean, I don't have time to
Yeah.
sit there and be fake and, you know, do my pose, my pose thing and have my video crew follow me and shit.
Yeah. Yep.
And I just had such disdain for it. And one guy in particular, and again, great information, but it was, hey, I want to celebrate the little people in our lives here who really make it work for us. And I want to celebrate, Juan over here who washes my Aston Martin every day. And I'm so, are you kidding me?
What a condescending
Isn't that how I
prick.
was raised? It's not me.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm just like, it's not me, you
Yeah.
know? So I kind of tapped out for a little bit. And then I was really wrestling with like what you were talking about. I just want to do good work.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I like nice
Hmm.
things? Do I know there has to be some sizzle and marketing to it? Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
But I leaned in. I just trusted my voice and leaned hard into it. That was really it. And it was um, not giving a shit about the numbers, but or how the presentation was or the
Yeah.
slickness of it. Does it need a little of that? Absolutely. Need some
Sure.
package. But I just instead of trying to chase everyone, I just stayed true to my voice, my audience, and stay in my lane. That was it.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to be a celebrity now. I
Right.
don't give a shit about that.
I don't either. I
I
never
care
did. I don't
that'll
give a shit about that. I don't ever want to give a shit about that. I kind of hope
no.
it never does blow up because I don't want to have to deal with it. I want to just live my life and help people. That's it. And man, you strike me that way, or I wouldn't have reached out to you, Bradley. It's this idea that you are
Thank
genuine.
you.
You are as advertised. You are exactly what you say you are. There is no doubt. I can't find any chinks in your armor. I can't find any hypocrisy. I can't find any spots where
Thank
you
you.
stumble. And I looked and looked and looked, and there just isn't there. And that's why I'm asking you about this specifically.
Yeah. I would, it's so funny. I mean, I think writing the book, if you're looking at it, the writing of the books is an interesting thing. And I know that, I listen to
Mhm.
some of your other podcasts and I know that the writing piece is important to you. Okay.
Yeah, it's the most important. Yeah.
And I think here's the thing. If you can, I've got a few more books in me. Okay. But
I hope so.
I'm not the best writer. I'm not the best writer. You know what? I'm a good communicator, but I'm not the best writer. Okay. But I
Hmm.
misspell, I curse way too much. Um, I
I
think
love that shit.
if you want to write, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
people on social media, I get chastised for that about once or twice a week. It's like, you're so smart. Do you have to curse? And I've been doing that. I got thrown out of tennis tournaments when I was a kid. I've been doing this
Yeah,
for
sure.
years. Okay. There's no change in me.
Yep.
And I think it's the thing it's like your information. I have tried it. I've tried being someone else or being vanilla or trying to be all things. And you know what? Not only does it suck, I hate myself with it. Okay. Now I'm not
I
true
know
to
exactly
myself
what you
with
mean.
it. I don't like that man. I don't
Hmm.
like that dude. He shows up bad. And I know that polarity is a big word in the world, and especially in what you do. I believe in it. And I believe in the polarity you're talking about. I believe in polarity in
Right.
other, but I think that, you know, you can go bad in extremes, but this right here sucks. Straight down the
Oh
middle
man,
sucks.
it sure
You
does.
need to pick something.
Hmm.
And I think that, and I'll get back to the book thing in a second, but I think that's a huge thing there. I don't give a shit what it is you do. If it is, masculinity, femininity, dating, relationships, fucking plumbing or animal training,
Sure.
have a stance, have an opinion, have a lane, and
Hmm.
stick to it. And I just finally, I'm old enough and have been through enough ups and downs. I know who I want to check out as. And hey, look, you can
Yeah.
come for this ride or you don't. But I've been vanilla and I don't like that dude.
I like
And
that phrase, man.
getting comfortable with the,
I know who I want to check
yeah, I
out
mean,
as. That's good shit.
well, that's just it. I mean, it's, um, there are people who are going to hate you on spec. That's it.
Yep.
There are going to people who go, you know what, fuck Michigan. I hate guys from Michigan. I knew a guy from Michigan. He sucked.
Sure.
And they're going to hate you regardless of what you
Yeah,
do.
I don't care about that.
And that, well, no, but I mean, that's just it. There's some things.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I know people like this. There are people out there who are in the same space, whatever, and they can say the same thing, okay, and present the same message, but it is received differently because of the person delivering it, because of timing, because of environment, all of that. It doesn't make one good or bad. But if that person's authentic, that's what matters. And so if a third of the people are going to hate me on spec, I used to worry about that stupidly. Okay, cool. I'm not.
All right, we all go through that stage,
and that's okay.
We all go through that stage.
Well, that's it. That's why there's Chinese food and Mexican food. Okay, you got choices, and a third are going to be situational. A third of the people are just going to be, hey, look, I don't like everything, but I like this, and then a third of the people are just going to drink your Kool-Aid.
That's true. You're going to get them too.
Yeah, that's cool. With the books, long way around. The way the markets have changed now. Okay. It used to be that you couldn't have distribution or marketing without a big publisher. Okay. So I've been lucky. I've had Random House do 2, HarperCollins did 1, and then 2 minor publishers did the other. So it was great. I mean, you get paid in advance. Okay.
Yeah, which is nice.
It's like an NFL contract. You make all your money on the front end. Okay. You may earn out, you may see money, you may never see another dime. Okay. But you couldn't get a book in a bookstore, because people actually shopped in bookstores. The split was horrible, but that's how you did it. Now it's a totally different animal. And a big publisher would be great, but you could really only need one once you have a huge audience. And that's how you're going to get a massive advance, because you can have distribution without it. You can have marketing without it.
Well, you're your own best marketer. I've always thought that.
Totally. And you and I both know self-publishing used to have this negative stigma on it, and it was, oh great, vanity publishing, and you've got, congratulations, you want a book? I got 10,000 in the garage. And now the way the split is, it's fantastic.
Oh man, yeah, I do really well.
People write a book. No, I mean, people write a book for the vanity, okay? And I hate that. Oh, you need to be a published author so you can have your calling card. I have a 70-page PDF. Okay, that's a vanity project in my book, but still they're doing good enough. But if you want to self-publish something, a variety of ways of doing that to either be authentic and put your message out there and use that as a way to help build and impact your platform and your audience, A++. If you want to look at that as another revenue stream, self-publishing is the way to go on that one. Okay, versus a 90-10 split to the house.
Yeah, to the publisher.
And you're getting screwed on that. Yeah. Okay, great. I don't know what, everybody is different, but I guess you can take anywhere between 60 to 80% if you're self-publishing, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
I got 60 on my first one. I'm getting 65 on this one. So yeah, compared to what I would get at a publisher. And again, like I said, I don't have a big following, and I'm not a Navy SEAL. So, I'm not going to get that big publishing deal. Not like, again, and I don't think I want that, but I'm curious. Like I said, I was just very curious from your perspective, how how those things happened, and I appreciate you sharing. I really do.
Yeah, the books though. Here's the funny thing though. So every book I wrote, I sold without writing the book. Okay,
that's impressive.
Meaning I kept a journal. And that's kind of long tail around on how I got back into this. My first book was a journal I wrote in my 20s about being a young man working, what they don't teach you in school. Okay.
Right.
I wrote 2 books about being a dad because I thought all the books about being a father out there at the time, there's a lot of information now, but at the time, this isn't real stuff for real guys. This is bullshit. Okay? So it was something that was impacting my life. The books that I wrote about coming back and starting over. We're right after I had burned a company into the ground in the year in 2000. Okay. I'd taken,
Yeah.
I lost a shit ton of my money and investor money and shit, thinking I could be a CEO.
Sure.
I'm not a CEO. And,
Yeah, it's different animal.
real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's real stuff. And, anything that I share with people, and I think you're the same way. Look, do I know a lot of stuff? Yeah. Am I a smart dude? Yeah. But I don't know everything. And my way is
Mm-hmm.
not the absolute. I share with you things that I have learned, and I'm not going to present something to you that I have not done. It's raining, but, yeah, thank God. I mean, I think that, the streaks of 100 plus days are over. So it's good.
I don't know how you do
Still
it.
90, still suck.
I noticed you're a lifetime Texan, but man, I couldn't handle that heat. Even here in northern Michigan, it'll get up to
Until,
90, and I struggle with it.
yeah, but what's so funny is I spent a year in Minnesota. And
Okay.
like a stupid move, I chased a woman to Minneapolis for one winter, and
Okay.
it was my Midwest experience. And I realized that between that and Wisconsin and Michigan, you all are the ultimate bait and switch. I'm telling you, because you get them there during summer and spring, and it's
Oh
perfect,
man,
it's
it's beautiful. Yep.
magnificent, like
Yep.
like six weeks of summer, and then it's like, oh, now we got you, now you're
Yep.
here.
Now you're
So
hooked. I felt like the
that's
same
good.
way. If I
I
went
did.
to Northern Michigan University, which is way further up in Michigan, and same thing, beautiful in the fall, and then wham, it was a heck of a winter. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Wow. No, no, no. I was just gonna say I did a little homework, and you and I have a decent amount in common. So I didn't know you're a headhunter.
Yeah, did you do that too?
I did for about 15 years.
No kidding.
So in
What was your
fact, I
area?
was a partner. I was healthcare CEOs and CFOs.
Okay,
So I was a
high
partner at
level.
one of the big firms, and we had a huge construction practice. I see you did construction. So
Yep, yep.
yeah, I was a partner to a firm called K Bassman. I think they're the at the
I know who they
time
are.
they now own, I think, Stan. Yeah, I was one of the managing partners at K Bassman for about 8 years.
Wow.
So yeah,
I have a connection to that company. There was a guy that I worked with at a company called the Birmingham Group, who also was construction recruiting. Guy's name's Brian
yeah.
Binky, and he knew very well one of the people who was a partner at Bassman. I can't remember the guy's name, but that's how I heard of them. That's how I knew who they were.
It's it's I had such a love hate, and we can talk anything wide open. I'm an open
Me
book on
too,
shit,
man. Yeah.
and part of being a recruiter is part of my whole journey. I have such a love hate relationship with it
Hmm.
that it is. I think it's a great business. It's a great way of life. I got burned out. I got totally burned out with it, and I did full desk. I did the
Me
whole
too.
thing. I had a team, for a while, but I just, man, I love the deal making part of it. I absolutely love that. And again, I liked who
Sure.
I dealt with too. I did some RPO stuff after I left. I mean,
Okay.
I got into a typical recruiter bullshit. I mean, I was there. I was one of the equity partners, making a shitload of money. But then you realize after a certain point in time, the split.
All right. One last try. I appreciate your
The, the,
patience, brother. I
the
really do.
joys of country living.
Oh
Hey, no
man.
problem, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So where were we?
No, yeah, I was just saying. I mean, my whole thing, and like yours, I mean, um, I come from a position of authority because I'm telling you about stuff
Sure.
I've experienced
Yep.
or my thoughts, outlook, life lessons.
Hmm.
And what I don't know, I know where to go. That's a gift I have. Is I don't claim to have all the answers, but if I
Resourceful.
don't know, I sure as hell know who to go to and how to
Yep.
get them.
Yep.
And part of my job, I look at as an author, as a speaker, as creating content, or even coaching, is being that conduit, being that middleman, just like we're headhunters, right? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
I'm that guy in the
Making the
middle of like,
deal.
hey, I'm going to help you do this, but if not, I'm going to help connect the dots to get you what you need.
Hmm.
And we're going to learn this along the way. And I think that's, that I enjoy. That is kind of my gift on this, and that's what I'm doing with advanced adulting. is really it. And I know it's a corny term, but you know what?
No,
It
man,
fits.
it's dead
And
nuts,
advanced,
man. It's in the crosshairs. It's exactly what you're doing. It's a great term.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So, so what's next for you in the books? What do you want to achieve next?
Man, so if you go on my website, I've got, and this might just be the narrow scope of the fact that I was an educator for so long, raised by two teachers. I've got a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation talking about how to better address maleness in schools. I can rip off a bunch of
Hmm.
statistics about how, how many single mother households there are and how, teachers are mostly female, especially in primary schools, and how boyhood is kind of getting crushed a little bit. I've got a lot of resources on that.
Right.
I talked to Dr. Warren Farrell. He's got a couple books. One's called The Boy Crisis. I've talked to Christina Hoff Summers, also big researcher on boys and making them successful. I would like to get into schools and talk about that. Um, Unfortunately, that it flies exactly counter to the current culture of education. In education right
Right.
now, everything's about promoting special ed kids and certainly girls and all these populations that they consider to be weaker, which I consider to be a massive insult to those populations. If it were me and they were telling me, well,
Right.
you can't do this because you're a white male, or something, I'd be very insulted by that. I'd be like, watch me, you know what I mean? So anyway, it's very
Right.
counterintuitive to what's going on in schools. And I realized that because again, I was a teacher for as long as I was. I know that that's how it works, but I think that's exactly why uh, it's important. That's why I think it needs to be out there. So I work on that. I spend my time when I can. Once a week, I send an email to principals and superintendents and college professors and education departments here in Michigan. I'm starting to branch out in other states, trying to get that message out there. Saying, hey, here's the book I wrote. Here's the information I got. Here's a free PowerPoint. If you want to use that information, you can. You don't have to pay me to come in to talk. But that's kind of where I have my sights
Right.
set. But I'm realizing that there's quite a market for me and for what I do in the church realm. And I'm not a big church guy at all, but
Oh,
bringing the message of, hey, let's make our men as strong as possible. That's still cool in churches. Like they're
right.
still into that. That's still a very positive message. So me getting that
Right.
word out, so I'm trying to spread my message that way. But yeah, that's where I'm trying to branch out, I guess, and trying to get my sort of my brand around there. This stuff, the podcast for me, I
Hmm.
mean, I suppose that's a way to expand what I do, but I think a podcast for me is very selfish, Bradley, to be honest. I just like to talk to other people who have spent time talking about or thinking about this stuff and researched it. And I can have a conversation with you and talk about
Right.
these things that, I can't talk about this stuff with my friends because they aren't in this space, right? Doesn't mean they're bad people, not anything
Right.
like that. But there's a certain set of information that you've learned doing what you do. Like you and I talking about recruiting, there's a jargon, there's all these things that, other people aren't going to understand. So
Absolutely.
I do that to sharpen my tools, man. And that's why I talk to people. I mean, and I realize I'm starting to have some people who want to listen to my stuff. And very frankly, the people who make the biggest impact is when I'll get a message on Facebook or something from one of my former students. They're like, hey, Coach Neville, man, I'm still listening to your stuff, man. Keep putting it
Very
out.
cool.
That gets me motivated more than anything else. I mean, I could kind of give a shit about a stranger, but these kids who were my responsibility for 4 years, I'm
Yeah.
starting to pitch them. But anyway, with the books, it's working out that I'm doing one every 2 years. So this year I'm off. Next year I'll write another one. I've got a couple ideas. The thing about this new book that's really raising people's eyebrows and in a good way, right? There's no such thing as bad publicity, but chapter 2 is called Violent, and I'm not telling you to go down to the bar and kick the shit out of somebody every Friday night. I'm just saying that you're a male and this is a part of your DNA and it's part of your genetics. And for hundreds of thousands of whatever how many years people have been around, you've had this as part of you, so you've got to accept it and learn how to deal with it when
Right.
it comes around. And so I talk about that, and I think I do a really good job of it in the book. But I thought about maybe a full book on that, about the upsides and downsides. There's certainly a shit ton of research out there available. I mean, the Tim Kennedys and
Yeah.
even Ryan Mickler and there's a lot of these guys who are going to have a lot to say about
A lot.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so I can pull a lot of things together and make that book. But ultimately, I don't know. I would have never guessed I would have written the second book, to tell you the truth, after I wrote the first one. I mean, I just was like, all right, cool. I want to see if I can write a book.
Yeah.
Here we go. So I did it, and then started doing the podcast. And 2 years later, I was like, well, I'm going down this totally different path. Well, not totally different, but it's a much more specific path than that first book was. And so that's how the second book came about.
Right.
And I'm realizing now that I'm getting even more specific. And so that's where it's crazy. Book one, chapter 9, I talked about football and volunteering and masculinity. It was just one chapter. And then
Right.
the second book was all that whole thing. Like, it was a giant expansion of that. And then I think the third book's going to be a big expansion of a chapter from the second book. So yeah, there's connections there.
No,
That's all I can think of, man. I don't have a massive grand plan.
that's
You
cool.
probably have some ideas, though.
I'm working, but there's right. What struck me though is, do you know there's two guys if you don't know them or don't follow them, you should follow them, and I'm happy to introduce you as well. But do you know Johnny L. Sasser? You know that
Never heard
name?
his name. No, no.
So John, look him up. He has a podcast called The Art of Masculinity. Okay.
No.
Johnny's a good friend of mine, and I was actually talking to him earlier this week. So he's a badass. I mean, in every sense of the word. In that, he
You
is
said Art of
former
Masculinity?
special ops. The Art of Masculinity. He looks
Okay.
like if Chris Stapleton actually got into shape. That's what he looks like. Okay.
All right.
So
It's a great picture, by the
Johnny
way.
is former yeah, he's former special ops.
Okay.
Was special detail to the ambassador to Iraq for 4 tours.
Cool.
He's in his 30s. Just trained killer, badass,
Hmm.
and who came back and realized. The start of his whole thing was he realized, hey, we're trained this way, but this whole idea of being, heartfelt, sensitive, all this about with his brothers and people who were going,
Hmm.
through all these things. You know, he's really a great guy because we can talk violence, we can talk, true polarity, we can talk true masculinity. He's got it, and he's big advocates for all that stands for. But he
Hmm. Hmm.
also, and we talked about this the other day, and the phrase I use with him is you can be a little bit you can be a little bit Spartan and a little bit Buddha, because it's also this idea of,
You got to have both,
okay,
I think.
you got to have both. Okay,
Yeah.
you got to have both in that. He's fantastic, and you should definitely have a conversation with him.
Yeah, I'd appreciate the invite, or
So he does some
the.
interesting retreats, things like that.
Hmm.
The other guy's up in your upper Midwest area, and then his name is Kyle Depius,
Okay.
and Kyle is in Minnesota, and I forget what the name of his podcast now. He's changed it a couple different times, but he does these things called guy trips, just simple guy
Okay.
trips. He is, and he's more faith. He's more faith based, but
Okay.
it's this idea of, hey, guys don't have enough real guys to talk about
That is very
things,
true. It's
but
very true.
that's true. I think, when I talk about relationships, my whole platform, Advanced Adulting, is I'm not your dude to talk about, hey, you should get your testosterone up and get in shape. Sorry, not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But it's, if you want to talk about relationships, as you matriculate midlife and transition and all that, that's it. But it's not just about dating, marriage, single, divorce, all that. It's about your
Mhm.
friendships. It's about relationships with your children, your grown children, your aging parents, your friends, yourself, all that, because that's a whole different deal. But Kyle does these really unique retreats. Okay, so it's like, hey, everybody come up. We're gonna get a bunch of dudes, and we're gonna come up. We're gonna have this kind of semi bougie thing. We're going to go dog sledding, but we're also going to go really talk about real issues that guys are going through. Okay.
Hmm.
And he's doing a thing now that a lot of it is leaning towards more faith-based stuff, but another interesting guy for you to just have a conversation with or kind of put into your world. So I
Yeah,
can
dude,
make
if
an
you would
intro
make
for
those introductions, I would really appreciate that. On your recommendation, I would definitely research both of them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Johnny's worth, both of them are good, but Johnny's A plus,
He's the
because
guy, huh?
it's that yin and yang of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
if nothing else,
uh,
getting good ideas about how they're structuring what they're doing. And because there is no PhD in masculinity. There is no, you can't do that. So you invariably have to kind of gather all this information on your own. And if you can, rub up against people who are doing that same thing and share information, makes everybody better.
I'm curious. I mean, again, this is what I see on the outside looking in. This is not my, you know, I dabble in it because I'm a man and I live it. Okay.
Sure,
But that's not my
sure,
platform and I don't, proclaim to, but, and like anybody, I got some hot sports opinions, but I think that, what do you see? Let's use that word polarity again
sure.
in the bigger sense. I think there's you're 46, okay, and
Hmm.
we talked earlier about these kind of these young guns out there.
Yeah,
Um, Man, I think that it's interesting. There's this two opposite extremes about what masculinity can be now, and
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
advocating being in the middle, but I don't think either of these extremes are the best thing
They're
going.
not right. Yeah,
One
I
seems to
think
be like,
I know what you're getting at, and you can feel free with me anytime. You don't have to defend anything. You don't have to sugarcoat anything, Bradley. You can just ask me. You just go right
mhm,
to it. And you're never going to offend me. I can't be offended. So I think what you're talking about is the young guys who are on this red pill business, and that was all started by a guy called Rollo Tomassi. He wrote a book called The Rational Male. Are you familiar with that? You familiar with him? Familiar with him?
no, I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with the work.
So the idea of red pill is just this
Are
idea
you
that
there?
yeah, I gotcha. He wrote this book and he basically pulls the covers back on how women operate, and it's a lot of I think if you're in your 20s, that stuff's pretty useful. I think that it makes sense to understand. All right, these are the things that make women more difficult or different than you are, or whatever it is. The more education you can get on that, the better off you're going to be, and I completely support that. But sadly, what most people take
Right.
that knowledge and do is they become pickup artists, or they become very, or they only get into it because they're
Right.
very bitter about women to begin with, and they go to these conferences and they,
Hmm.
no girls allowed and all this stuff, and that is absolutely not anything to do with what I talk about. I mean, as you said, I'm 46 years old. I've been through a few things. I'm here to build bridges. I specifically say in my book, it isn't us or them, it's us for them. That's what it is to be a man. You build yourself to be the
Right.
strongest, best, most productive, most helpful. You are a savage servant. You are, if you have to, you will fight the dragons, but
Hmm.
most of the times you're rolling on the floor with your kids. You're doing all the things you need to do to provide, protect, and preside.
Yep.
And there's lots of secrets that you keep. Now that you understand how your woman works, there's some things that you can't tell her. You got to know that this is how she works, but if you tell her, it's going to, like, there's all these
Right.
different details, but ultimately that's our role. It isn't us or them, it's us for them. That's why you're making yourself great. I'm trying to
Right.
make connections here. I'm not trying to split people up. There is no, like, and I think
Yeah.
it's feminism, sadly, dude. It's like the third wave of feminism.
Oh, I
I think
agree.
after about the early 90s, feminism turned into this warped, twisted, shitty thing. And up till then, it would really was about equality. And now it's about the only way. Now that then they were equal, there were no glass ceilings anymore. And so the only way we can push women up is to push men down. And man, and I think that's what I hear when people talk about my stuff, and assume that I must be pushing women down if I'm trying to elevate men. And it's exactly the opposite. It's I'm trying to help men
Right.
because it's going to help women. It's going to really help kids if we can get men to do the things that they're meant to be doing, the things that they should be doing, the things that are going to be making them, I use that word should, but the thing they're going to be the most rewarding, the most fulfilling, the things they're going to lead you to be that person that you want to, I can't remember the words you use, but the person you want to be when you meet your end. This is what's going to allow you to be doing those things in
Right.
your life that you can look back on and feel good about. That's the masculinity that I'm supporting. And sadly, there's so many people that
Yeah.
are so vocal talking about that other kind of using women and pushing them down and all this shit. And that just isn't what I'm doing, man. I figure you
Well,
probably knew
and it's
that
extremes on both. I mean,
for
no,
sure.
I do. It's just, it's always interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't, look, if you were, I wouldn't be talking to you on that. Cause I mean, that's
Good.
something that I just, the hard extremes. And
Yeah,
not
it's
only
not
is
for
that
me.
a belief for me, but I have two boys in their 20s,
Hmm.
and a daughter in her 20s. And my boys were just like, oh no, you didn't even want to touch any shit like that. You just want to walk away. Yeah.
Yeah,
I look at, here's the thing I look at. It's like anything, you know, in extremes in both ends. The extreme hardcore vagina hat wearing, men
sure,
hating feminists are
sure.
equally as bad as these
Yeah.
other
Oh,
guys.
yeah, as Andrew
And,
Tate.
yeah, and yeah, it's just funny. I mean, and it's so, who is it? And I forget her name. I follow her, but what was her name? The spunky millennial girl, the
Sarah
Sarah,
Moore.
whatever.
I'm actually
Okay.
very close friends with Sarah. She's pretty awesome.
I would
I
love
hope you weren't
one.
about to say something
Tell her
bad.
I
You can
think
say
she's
anything you want.
awesome.
Yeah, she's great, man.
No. I think she is so on point. Okay.
Yeah, she's great.
I don't know how old she is, but I mean, it's a
She's
matter of
30.
like
She just turned
that.
38.
Well, she's got the maturity and outlook and all of a badass 40 or 50, 50 something woman. I love it. Okay. So I'm
Yeah,
just
she's
saying
great.
she is an A plus plus with me.
Hmm.
And I listened to that and it's just funny because it, I know a shit ton of women like that. I know a shit ton of age appropriate women who are like
Hmm.
45 to 55 who are like singing that same song right
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
And it's funny because um, it is it's not always let me put there's an analogy that I love on this, okay?
Hmm.
In any extreme or anything, you can find some good things. You don't have to agree with everything someone says, but
It's true.
it's and I think she does a great job with that too.
Hmm.
And that's what
Hmm.
I don't expect anybody to buy everything that I'm saying out there, but it's I told the story of there's a king that had two sons, twin sons, and it was their birthday,
Hmm.
so he got one of them a pony, and he comes out, and the kid comes to the stable. Kid number one goes in the stable, and he looks, and um, he sees the pony, and he goes, well, "What is this?" He goes, "I don't want a pony. A pony's going to take a shit everywhere, and I don't want to clean up shit. There's shit. I don't want this." Okay, so the kid runs off. Spoiled kid runs off, and
Yeah.
the king's disappointed, and the horse leaves the barn, so there's just a pile of shit left.
Hmm.
And the second child walks in, and he sees the pile of shit, and he gets super excited and goes, oh my God, Daddy, thank you." Well, what do you mean? He goes, "You got me a pony." He goes, "How do you know that?" He goes, "Well, because when there's this much shit here, there has to be a pony somewhere." And I think that's the case with a lot of these things.
Yeah.
There's so much, there's golden bits of truth in all of these people's
Oh
things,
yeah, for sure.
but it's just covered in shit. To
Yeah, so
just
many
go,
times.
oh man,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant,
And
dude.
yeah,
I love that story. I see how it applies to so many things, for sure that we're doing. It's, yeah, I agree, man. I mean, it comes down to, you got to be able to relate to somebody. I mean, my background in literature, I know that. I was an English teacher, and if you can't relate to the characters, well, you can't really connect to the book. And that's what we are, man. To most people, when they're
right.
watching us on their phone or they're reading one of our books, they've got to be able to relate to us. And that's okay if they can't, man. Go find somebody else. You will find somebody to relate to. There's plenty of people doing what we do, but it's that package. You've got, I think back to what you were originally saying, stay in your lane, do what you do, because that's genuine. That's the real deal. And the people that do connect with you, they'll continue to connect with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that, we start off and you had me on talk about relationships at midlife, and
Yeah.
it's so funny, as a recruiter, you'll get this. I think there are so many parallels between being a good recruiter and matchmaker, pimp, whatever, connector, between that and dating and human relationships.
No, that's
The
true,
the
man.
parallels are amazing.
Yeah, I think
But
that I'd
I
be
think
great at
that's
setting
just it.
people up.
Is
You know, if I
oh
were a
yeah,
matchmaker, I could do
you
that.
know, right. Um, you know, the more you, the older you get, okay, I would hope that people would do this early on, but the more
Mhm.
authentic you are yourself, the more magnetic you become. And not
Yeah.
everybody's going to be drawn to you. Some people may just be drawn to you on the surface of, hey, you know what? They like dudes from Michigan with hair. They like bald guys from Texas with no
Yeah.
hair. That's the surface level shit. But you
Yeah.
being authentic, who you are, and staying in your lane, staying true to your word, true to your core, true to your character,
Hmm.
and your people are going to find you. And that is
Yeah, for
true
sure.
for dating and relationships, friendships, readers,
Hmm.
clients,
Yeah.
anything. That's
Yeah.
that's it. It all begins and ends.
Yeah, that's great information. Bradley, I know that I could talk to you for hours, I'm sure of it. But we got to wrap this up at some point, man. I sure appreciate you taking
Cool.
the time. You were everything that I thought you were going to be, and then some. Sometimes when I get people on my show,
Thank you.
they spend all their time trying to push their agenda or their brand or whatever it is, and really, I just want to have a conversation with you and talk to a good person. And again, talk about the topics that we have, and you were all of that. So, man, I appreciate it. And yeah, if you can
Thank
hook
you.
me up with those two guys, I will go to the ends of the earth to meet with them. I mean,
I'd
the
love
last time
to.
I met Sven
We'll
Erlandson, and I got connected with him, and he said yes, he would meet me. Do you know who
oh,
that is? Great dude. Have you
is
met?
he
Have you
is he the guy with the badass
counseling?
counselor,
Yeah,
the bald guy from Minnesota?
He's from Minnesota, yeah, but he lives in like Connecticut now. Nice job, dude. Yeah, he lives in, and I drove out there to meet him because he said he would do a show with me, and I'm like, well, fuck, I'm gonna go out there because I could drive it. So I drove out there and met him. And anyway, that's my point. Is if this one guy's in Minnesota, I'll drive there and meet him. And the other guy, same thing. I mean, if somebody's reasonably close, I'll go do whatever I have to do to make the connection.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what. Let's do a swap here. Okay, so I'm happy to introduce you to those two guys. I'd love to meet Sarah. Okay,
my God, I can make that happen immediately. Awesome. Yeah. What do you want to do?